On this episode of AV Week, the rise of the global AV distributor, teaching your team to speak IT and unique verticals you may not have considered. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 381, recorded Friday, December 14th, 2018, supporting the customer.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by
Sure, because every voice matters.
And by
Extron, industry-leading technology backed by world-class support.
And by Bodio, a leading manufacturer of professional PTZ cameras, Pro AV solutions, and UCC integration systems.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host for the week. With us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week, first and foremost, her name is Corey Schaefer, and she works with QSC. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also with us, southeast of me by way of Nashville, his name is Phil Cordell, and he is with M3 Technologies. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. Great to be here, man.
Oh, thank you. Also with us is Mr. Sean Robinson. He is with Harman. Welcome, sir.
Howdy.
Howdy. Sean's in Texas, so that makes complete sense. And last but not least, a new gentleman here, so you three be nice to him. His name is Peter Herr, and he is from Shure. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sure you are.
Do what?
Sure you are.
Oh, good Lord. I actually learned something.
We don't get that.
What was it? I went to the new Experience Center there in Chicago and learned that you were not allowed, but it's discouraged. You're encouraged to use the word certain when you are at the.
That is true. That is true. Yes.
So, our first story here comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. Midwich Group PLC has acquired the Australia-based Blonde Robot, a value-added distributor. This is Midwich's second acquisition in the last 6 months. They purchased Germany's New Media in the summer. It's also another in a line of several mergers and acquisitions within the distributor market. In July, DCC Technology, a UK company, purchased Stampede. Phil, I'm going to start with you on this and then kind of work to our manufacturers. There are several different models, and honestly, there are several different models globally. All three of these fine manufacturers will tell you they have different models in different parts of the world. But when it comes to you in Nashville, and if you're trying to go outside the U.S. or you're wherever you are, how are some of these distributors, kind of mergers and acquisitions, as they're trying to get more global? How is that going to impact you in your integration business?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say as an integrator, personally, I prefer the point-to-point relationship building that we do with some of our manufacturers, but we've got, some great distributors. And I know we purchase Shure through distribution and Harman, I think we go through distribution now. And the distributors that they've chosen to partner with in our area have been phenomenal. They've been fantastic. So I think it's, from an integration standpoint, we understand why people make that decision. And in at least these two cases, these two manufacturers in particular have gone out of their way to make sure that we as the integrator know that we have a direct line to them still, that, hey, you're not stuck here at this buffer and you're not going to receive the support that maybe you're accustomed to. But again, the manufacturers that we do go direct with, you've got that relationship intact because it's, that's the only place rather that you're going. It's the only communication taking place is with that end party. And so we appreciate that as well. So is everything going to end up going through disties? Maybe, and if it does, then we understand that. We've got some disties that are beating down our door pretty hard saying, hey, it's one throat to choke, for all of these different manufacturers. You come to us, one PO to cut, and they present a good reason why integrators would consider, I think, purchasing primarily through distribution.
Well, they're also, we mentioned Blonde Robot, a value-added distributor out of Australia. A number of these distributors, whether both here in the U.S. and outside, are also trying to do things to help the integrators. They're creating education. They're doing other certifications. They're doing roadshows. Almo does one. Stampede does one as well. I know there are a number in the UK that kind of travel around the country and do these little roadshows in case you can't make it to whichever audiovisual trade show of your choice, whether it's ISE, Infocom, CDO, whatever. They're bringing things to the dealers, so they're also trying to do some more value added. So, Sean, we'll kick you off with the manufacturers here. What does this do to the manufacturer's relationship with the integrators, but also kind of with the distributors as these distributors are getting bigger and they're getting more multinational?
Right. And this is a very relevant topic. Harman, from AVWeek's perspective, we used to be direct in Europe, and over this past year, and in 2017, we moved things through distribution, and there's pros and cons with that. Actually, Midwich is one of our larger partners over there in Europe, in the UK. So it's important from a manufacturer perspective to make sure the distributor has the technical competencies to support the product. And then you also have to overlay a support model so that you still have a direct contact in with your integrators so you can inform them appropriately, but also solid programs in place to get distributors ramped up on new products so they can effectively go out there and sell the product for you and support it effectively. The global distribution trend that we're seeing is really interesting, and there are some big benefits from a managing global customer perspective. One of our biggest challenges is managing global pricing with our large multinational accounts, and having global distribution does have some benefits there. So it is a big trend that we're seeing across the board. And again, pros and cons, but since a lot of our business is project-based, distribution really helps smooth out that demand and ensure the product availability for the integrator and for our customers, which really, really helps. So,
is that because they're able to warehouse closer to where the integrator is, or is there another reason in there that it kind of helps smooth out?
That they can warehouse closer to the point of sale. And then the key there is to be successful on the manufacturer side, you have to have visibility of that sell-through and also visibility of that inventory at those distribution sites for your own demand planning, right? So you do have to put some additional systems in place to do that. But once you do that, it works pretty well.
All right. Corey, same question is what is this going to do to manufacturers' relationships, both from a distribution as well as the integrator globally, as these guys are getting more global?
Really, to chime into with what Sean said is, for us manufacturers at QSC, we view a distributor as a real partner. So it's really an extension of QSC and who we are. And so for the integrator being the customer or the end-to-end user being the customer, it's about making sure that they have a consistent experience. So I think the advantage of a distributor is, of course, product availability, service, support, that training, et cetera. And if we really have this true partnership, we don't really lose visibility or relationships with the integrators, because a good distributor partner will pull you in and have you be having dialogue with your integration partners directly as well. And, I don't know, as Sean said, pros and cons. And honestly, at QSC, there are some areas where we're pulling back from distribution and putting in our own offices. And then there are some territories where we're just going full distribution. And I do want to bring up a bit of a side thing that's not really QSC related, but it's kind of an experience that Zoom is doing. So Zoom loves to put the meeting room in a box, whether it be an executive briefing center, the training room, et cetera, kind of this is your shopping list. So many distributors are taking all the products that might go into those particular rooms and doing something beyond what we manufacturers can do. They're putting multiple brands together, creating maybe one part number, literally configuring the computers and everything like that too. And then when it goes on site, it's literally unbox it in a 45-minute install. So there's some customers or some like services like Zoom are really pushing for that. So I know some of these integration or these distributors are working to provide that as well globally.
Is that something that they're doing here in the States, but and also globally, or is that
Yes.
more normalized? Okay.
Yeah. So Stampede can offer that. Starin can offer that. I mean, so we're looking at some of these distributor partners that have been just in the U.S. Their business has grown so much with Zoom because of this. They're managing all the logistics by the room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Go ahead.
And wanting to take that now, Zoom's pushing them to take that globally.
Interesting. Okay. Peter, wrap up here. Kind of go over some of the pros and cons of both distribution and direct. Phil mentioned the fact that you could Shure, through distribution, but you guys also have reps, so you have a Shure employee who talks to Phil and supports him, but you also have a distribution that where he physically buys it from. So what are kind of some of the pros and cons, both here in the States and outside?
Right. Yeah, I think that's true. In the U.S., we have a network of manufacturers representatives that obviously represent us and other manufacturers as well, that complement our line and complement what we offer. I think that's something that provides kind of on the ground in market support that maybe we might not be able to support directly from the home office. Obviously, it kind of puts us in a lot more spaces than we normally would be. I mean, Shure's been growing like crazy. We've got 30 offices worldwide, something right now. So, I mean, certainly our footprint is getting out there, and we're having more offices open on an annual basis, which is great for getting close to the customer. But we still very much rely on those distributors for those and long-term relationship distributors that we've had for a long, long time that represent us very well, that we would never, consider really, they're a pure partner of ours, much like has been said before. And we don't necessarily look to replace them. We look to kind of augment them and work with them to provide, better service, better training, the whole package.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, our next story comes to us from System Contractors News, SCN. Samsung has unveiled another of their Onyx Direct View LED screens. I actually got to see one in LA back in April. This is one of the biggest ones to date, though, that Samsung has installed. It's at the Beijing Capitol Cinema. Previous screens were only 10 meters wide, which is still pretty ginormous. The one installed at the Capitol Theater is 14 meters wide. For those of us in the U.S. that don't do that calculation well, that's 46 feet. So, metric to imperial there. Samsung partners with commercial integration firms to install both the screen and the audio system. A typical cinema sound system, obviously you have the speakers around you, but you also have several speakers behind, which I didn't realize because I've never installed a cinema system until about a year or so ago when Samsung started talking about this Direct View LED. Obviously, it's a Direct View LED, so it's a solid state screen. You can't get audio through it. It's not acoustically transparent. So Samsung partners with JBL as well as BSS Audio to make it sound as if there are still speakers behind it. Samsung and BSS are all brands and under the same roof, but they're also brands that most commercial integrators are familiar with and have access to. Sean, I want to start with you on this. This is kind of a unique vertical where, again, brands that the normal, average, everyday commercial integrator is familiar with, and most of them have access to a lot of these brands. There are absolutely engineering expertise and installation techniques that you have to know to get into this market, but it's a market that it doesn't seem a lot of the traditional commercial integrators, the ones that are doing conference rooms and stadiums, have gotten into. What I want to kind of go off on this with this story is, what other kind of unique or untapped verticals are out there that integrators are just not getting into yet?
So yeah, cinema is a great opportunity, and in some of the large cinemas chains that we work with, they do a lot of their own internal work, but then a lot of the other ones handle it through the integration firms. And as you guys have seen in a lot of the market data, in addition to cinema market, the sports venue market is growing pretty rapidly. They're both growing and adding in a lot more AV technology because of the competition against the traditional home theater now that people have access to. With the great surround sound systems we have, projectors, large format displays inside our homes, it does provide a much more of a theatrical experience, but now that ups the ante for cinemas and sports venues on increasing that fan experience or that customer experience to draw people out of their homes, right? And that's why you're seeing this kind of investment being done both in cinemas and sporting venues. So I would say any entertainment venue in addition to cinema, is a ripe area for growth for AV integration, because audiovisual technology is being used to increase that experience to draw people out to their facilities.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey, same kind of question. What are some other verticals that folks may not realize are out there that they can start tapping into?
So I'm going to kind of chime in a little bit with what Sean said. Again, it's overarching is the immersive and interaction, trying to create an immersive and interactive experience. So, you know, in the traditional cinema, I actually spoke to a cinema chain literally this morning, and I didn't realize, but at this cinema chain, they're doing many all-hands meetings for companies at their facility. They're doing a lot of corporate national type meetings because they're creating this amazing experience. And the other thing is, with remote work, with companies having remote workers, sometimes their office space just can't hold everyone, so they need a venue to go to. So that does open up opportunity for all kinds of spaces. Like, I mean, you look at the growth of Topgolf, right? So Topgolf is, it's not really about the golf, it's about this experience and being able to make it fun, get food. I mean, in Vegas, they have a pool at that one, right? So, and they've got all this AV. We're seeing it happen in retail. So in the town that I live in, they actually took a Macy's store that had been closed, and they've now created this amazing holiday immersive experience in that store. And they have now 80 little pop-up stores just for the holidays, right? So there's all kinds of things like this, but I would say the overarching elements are about immersive and interactive, because we all know that all of us are on that phone, you know, the mobile device. So how do we pull that in as well? I was recently at a meeting where you could easily ask the crowd to just raise their hands or whatever, but they know everybody's on this device. So they're literally just making that a part of the meetings so that they can pull, grab the information from how people are answering, you know, et cetera. So immersive and interactive. And I think, you know, so what are they? They're, you know, they're retail, they're the bowling alley, I mean, it's just kind of where people have gone for a certain thing, but how do we turn it into more now?
Absolutely. Peter, what are some areas that you've found, whether it's, you know, talking with integrators or talking with other manufacturers, that you may not have thought of, you know, 5 or 10 years ago?
Well, I think just to expand on what the sports venue thing was huge. That article that you've sent was very interesting from a standpoint of that. I mean, Corey mentioned the immersive experience. I mean, I'll just say from my own experience of, you know, attending various Iowa Hawkeye games, the volume level in Kinnick Stadium that has, you know, what it has come to over the past few years as I go to games. Maybe it's because I'm getting older as well.
No.
But my God, it's like the amount of like over the top, you know, music, any kind of break in the action has to be followed up by, you know, something that's crazy on the screen, something that's loud to engage all the students and the crowd, 70,000 plus people that are there. And even interactivity factor of it, of like, you know, hey, tweet your picture and we'll put it up on the scoreboard, you know, in real time, that you hashtag, you know, Iowa, fight Iowa or whatever it is. And you see that instantaneously. So it's like, you're getting it 360 all the way around of like, I'm at this game, I'm watching a sporting event that really, hopefully you would think would be enough, but, you know, to have all this other stuff augment around you, from the audio to the visual, is just, it's a little bit overwhelming. But again, you know, I could be just, you know, out of my age range a little bit, but it's where it's headed and it's where it's going. And it's really,
so maybe it's not about new verticals, but it's the traditional verticals with newness happening in them,
expanding.
Right?
Yeah. It very well could be. I think that's, you know, I mean, even to your point about like bowling alley or that Macy's that got converted, a new experience I had never been to before. They just opened a place, and they might have them elsewhere too. A whole bar, like drinks and food oriented around darts. It's called Flight Club. I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's one that just opened in Chicago where you basically have your company party and everyone stands around throwing darts, maybe with drinks on the other hand, which I don't know, you know, I
like it. I have some coworkers I'd love to do that with.
And that's the point exactly, Corey, is this may not end well for some people.
Yeah, I can't comment on that. Anyway, it's moving in that direction. I definitely see that.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Cordell, you don't have to give me all your secrets, but one or two. What are some unique areas that you found yourself in?
No, I've actually been taking notes on everything they suggested so we can implement that stuff. Immersive, check. No, this
Interactive.
Right. Must be interactive. Yeah, must create the experience. It's interesting as an integrator, and we're a decently sized company that we can take some risks and look to, get into some of these new environments. And probably, 8, 9, 10 years ago, we might not have been in that position. And I think for some integrators, it's how do I stop doing classrooms long enough or make the financial outlay to invest in R&D to figure out how do you augment reality? I don't know, but people say you should do that because everybody's doing that now. There are a lot of opportunities for us, but some of these things are so seemingly technologically advanced that they feel like they're outside of our sweet spot as traditional AV integrators. But I think AVIXA has done a great job at kind of hitting home that this thing's changing and you need to change with us or else you're going to get left behind. And so, we go to Topgolf, it's fantastic. And when we're there, we comment, just look at all the TVs, look at the experience that, this kind of seamless gaming and real life, coalition come together for us. It's a beautiful thing. We have a dart bar. It's not as cleverly named as Flight Club, but it's just a dart bar. We got battle axe throwing bars these days.
Oh yeah.
Things are crazy in the streets, right? So the thing that I realize is, like, if it's not us as AV integrators moving into that space, taking those chances and reaping those benefits, like, somebody's going to do that, and so it's we got to pick our spots as to where we expand, but it feels like there's never been more opportunities to do both what we're good at and have always been good at: conference rooms, lecture halls, auditoriums. You need line arrays flown. Your signage guy might not be comfortable, rigging, a line array, but we are. But we could get into digital signage deeper than we are, and we can get into immersive experiences deeper than we are. We might be better positioned to pick up some of these new technologically advanced methods of leisure that are out there now than those folks would be coming into our playground. So it's a really cool time to be doing what we're doing. And if it's movie theaters, great. That's something that, we've done a couple movie theaters. It was a really neat experience, but it's not our bread and butter, and maybe with partnerships like these with our traditional vendors, it could become our bread and butter.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Last story here comes to us from a commercial integrator. It's an article by Adam Forziati about speaking IT. Commercial integrator actually polled their audience about a number of subjects, including how confident their readers are or were in addressing technology decision makers with IT backgrounds. Results of the survey indicated that 47% of their audience needed to build more confidence in dealing with IT decision makers. So basically, half of their readers were not confident enough talking to IT folks. Forziati points out that talking with IT decision makers has become quite common. Quote unquote, IT directors have become the key technology decision makers, but many integrators find themselves struggling to speak with them in a meaningful way. Corey, I'm going to start with you on this. Simple question is, how do we, as the integration, the audiovisual integration community, speak IT better, talk IT better?
So some of us have hired IT people that help us. I mean, Sean, you guys have Paul Zealy, right? So we invested in a couple of folks from Cisco to help us speak that. We've created some documentation so that when our team gets into those discussions and they realize that it's just a language issue, they'll revert to, hey, I have a white paper I'd like to send you that I think is going to address most of those things. And it's just the understanding that we really are talking different languages. And so I'm female, so I have no problem in a meeting saying, I don't understand what that acronym means, or can you tell me why that's important, or can I have somebody else, reach out to you, and just just laying it right out that I'm not an expert in that type of language, but that we know that they are the decision maker, but really understanding what's the value prop that matters to them, what matters to them, and stop with the AV jargon. When I read, when I look at how we speak, I mean, yeah, we do have different languages, and so we just have to stop and remember, it's like the 101, who's the audience? and what matters to them, what concerns do they have, and work to draw those out. And I think, we can learn this we totally can learn this. But we have to, when we hear an acronym or a phrase that we don't understand, be straight up and say, we don't understand it. And, can you explain that? What do you mean by that? And when you realize, okay, I think we find common ground just by being willing to seek to understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a rule here at AVNation that if we use an acronym, we have to define it, right? So regardless of what that acronym is, that's why I stay away from them, because sometimes I'm like, okay, HDMI, I'm not sure what the is it, yeah. Peter, who in organizations, whether that's manufacturers or integrators, who should learn to speak IT? Is it everybody? Is it just the salespeople? Just the engineers? Who needs to learn this?
This is such a crazy hot topic in our world lexicon, especially at least at Shure. My God, the IT, just the amount of stuff that we've put out that either needs to interface with something in the IT world. Obviously, more and more of our products are having shipping with Ethernet jacks on them. It just doesn't. Nothing comes with XLR anymore in my vertical. It just doesn't matter. It's not. It's gone. We have. I think everyone needs to learn it, at least to some basic level, to at least get people somewhat on the same page. So obviously, you're not going to be able to cover every single acronym or every single term. But one thing that we're trying to really push. And I think it's something that a lot of manufacturers and integrators are looking for their customers, and both this also for themselves is education and just getting everyone up to a certain level of knowledge that they can begin to communicate with each other, like even with it's like a decoder ring of sorts. And our Shure Audio Institute program that we just launched this fall has a few courses dedicated to speaking IT, for the AV professional. And it's not deep dive, but it certainly removes some of those basic issues of you can't go in and talk to an IT decision maker and just start talking to them about, dBs and, other audio terms when they're just going to be like, yeah, that's great, but does it work with what I've got? And that's what you need to kind of break it down to and really understand that they're they're in the business of, talking about uptime and making sure that there's, mean time between failures of minimal amounts, and things are just, online all the time. So, just breaking down some of those barriers, I think, is key with education, and that's how we're kind of attacking it.
Phil, what certifications or classes can integrators take? Obviously, Peter mentioned Shure has classes. I know QSC has classes. Harman has classes as well. Now, the one thing I would say about that, these are AV folks, AV manufacturers trying to help the integrator. Is there something that is outside of our realm, outside of our industry, that we should be looking at as well?
Probably. We've got some guys that are into CompTIA, and are looking at certs there. We have a structured cabling side, and so we're into Bixby, and that's not so much necessarily the configuration of the switches and some of the things that we as AV integrators need to be able to talk about with the IT directors, but it's certainly a deeper understanding of the network as a whole. Inside our industry, yeah, you're absolutely right. Avixa's got a fantastic networking course. Most manufacturers do. And, I've assembled a curriculum for our technical staff of just places to start to. And it's funny because Extron offers one, AMX offers, in the Harman University, everybody's got something, and they all kind of hit on the same stuff. But I think it's important for guys that aren't looking at this stuff every day to kind of get that refresher every few months, even if it is basic, the layer, OS layers and topology and yada, yada, yada. It's helpful, and you got to keep doing it. In terms, do I think everybody can speak it? I don't know how deep you can go. I think everybody's got to have a basic understanding, but the same way that in AV, every technician, when they see a programmer doing this thing, they think, I want to be a programmer. That's what I'm going to do. We're not all cut out for that, and we're not all cut out to be CCNAs, and that's okay. luckily there are lots of opportunities in our industry to find your sweet spot. But I do think that there's going to be a kind of baseline requirement that we're going to have to set, just so they can say, well, that's a little over my head, but let me kick you up to the next tier and be able to identify who can answer those questions.
I'm going to insert, you mentioned CompTIA, and they actually have, I think, 5 IT certifications. I mean, they are the IT association, and they have basic all the way to more advanced, and I think it's a great one for all of us in our industry to work to get aligned with, because the other thing that they're offering are, and it's not IT related necessarily, but it's managed services, because many integrators and us manufacturers need to really understand that side of it as well. It's just a different business model.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean, as we wrap up here, what are some of the dangers in an integrator learning IT speak, but not implementing it, right? Not implementing what they've learned, and yeah, they can sell to the IT decision maker, but when it comes all the way down the line to the technologist or the tech on site, it's not getting translated. Yeah,
Tim, I'm glad you brought this one up this week. This, in my opinion, is the number one biggest issue we have in our industry. I mean, the AV IT convergence happened years ago. We had a lot of AV product that is communicating only over Ethernet now versus serial and IR. But now with AV over IP and networked video, it's literally imperative that our industry get on board here and be able to bring in that expertise. And that's manufacturers and channel partners and integrators all the way through to the end customer. We have seen a massive shift towards in the buying personas shift over to the IT director, as everybody's seen. And if we don't show up and be able to communicate effectively, then they're going to go elsewhere. And as we're seeing package solutions start to show up in the IT reseller channels, believe me, and now that everything is touching the network with InfoSec requirements, we have got to ramp up our game. And I know from a manufacturer perspective, you either hire it in, or in our case, acquire it in, or train it, right? And so, the SVSI team brought a ton of networking knowledge in. We've taken our pre-sales and post-sales in through CCNA, and we do a lot of training for our channel partners. But this is literally imperative because, again, digital video still makes up the vast majority of video distribution right now, but huge growth rates, if you guys seen, towards network video. And it's not just the basics. You got to get in there and help those customers, VLANs and segmentation and all that kind of stuff, which I think the quickest way for an integrator to do it, and what we've seen a lot of them doing, is hiring in the capabilities, right? Hiring in the people who are the experts and bring those guys in and augmenting the AV teams, right? Because you can't just train it, you have to practice it. You bring in a practitioner and you can get there that much quicker, and then ramp up your other team as you get going. And then the guys who have the deep AV expertise bring their own value, right? That's the most effective way that I've seen it done. And it is literally imperative we move faster because it's the biggest issue we have in our industry right now, in my opinion.
So let me ask a dangerous question as we wrap up here, and this may blow up in my own face. So AVIXA has a CTS, Certified Technology Specialist. They have a CTS-D, which is the design certification. They have the I, which is the installation certification. Is it time for them to start considering an N, a networking certification for the AV industry?
Networking and security, absolutely.
Networking and security, yeah.
Yes.
Yep,
absolutely.
Agreed.
There you go. Labuscus, get on that right now.
Time.
Dave Labuscus is the head of AVIXA. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Corey Schaefer, it's always a pleasure. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for having me.
How do people find you or QSC?
So QSC.com, Corey Schaefer at QSC. I'm all on social, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc.
All right, very good. Mr. Cordell, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man. Find me on Twitter at @the_AV_pro, or find us on our website, m3techgroup.com.
And you've been doing some extracurricular activities as well.
I have been doing cool stuff, man. For those of you that know my background in the AV industry, I've been in the industry 11 years, and maybe 8 years ago, I started making music about it. That was kind of cool. Made some videos that, got some traction in our industry, a lot of fun, just bringing that funness to the industry, and kind of wanted to tell that story. And so wrote a pilot, really been working on it for the past 18 months or so, opted not to use the AV industry as the background for it, but a different industry. But finally shot that pilot, and maybe by the end of January, sometime in February, it'll be wrapped up, and see what happens. I'll probably just be here as a guest on your show for the rest of my life, Tim, and I'm great. And I'm great with that.
If we follow you on Twitter, you're going to keep us updated on the pilot?
I will. I've been kind of mum about it because, until it's in the can and in post-production, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot there or something. I'm more of a do it, don't talk about it kind of guy. So
it's still freaking cool, dude. Seriously.
Well, thanks, man. It was a very professional production, and so I'm excited. I think it's going to look good. Now, whether it is good, we'll see. TBD,
Absolutely. All right. Also, Mr. Sean Robinson, thank you, sir. How do people find you or Harmon?
Pro.harmon.com, or I'm on LinkedIn, Sean with a U.
Sean with a U, S-H-A-U-N. Mr. Herr, thank you, sir. It was a pleasure having you.
This was fun, Tim. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
And great to meet you all virtually. Find me at, my Twitter is at PAHerr, P-A-H-E-R-R. I'm on LinkedIn too, and then sure.com is the website of choice.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Do not follow me on Twitter, because at this point in the season, I am waiting, holding my breath, that the Bears do not collapse in some way, shape, or form. But as of right now, they're still in first place. So there you go. But go by the website, if you would, please, AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others, including our other weekly program. This one is weekly. We have one that covers the residential side of the AV industry, hosted by my buddy Matt Scott. Also, while you're there, please check out our supporters. These are the folks who support us financially, help us bring you AVWeek, and in about 2 months' time, ISC and all that stuff, and Harmon and Sure are two of those. So we thank them for their support. Also, while you're there, we have done this is our third year now. It is our version of an awards. It's our AVNation Awards, and it comes in 2 sections. And the reason for that is we want you to tell us what you think the best product is. So in the month of December, there's a nomination process, and then at the end of December, we will tabulate all those together, put them in a big pot, and then let you vote on them. Because there may be something that you didn't think of that another AV professional kind of put in the nomination. So check that out on the website as well. All that and more at avnation.tv, avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.